What is up, everyone? We're live. We're back on Saturday. Big college hoops day today. Post Super Bowl, these Saturdays are always good. I'm live from sunny South Florida. I hope it's sunny where Gavin is out west. Gav, how you doing today, man?
Yeah, good. It's it's usually sunny. We actually had some rain the last couple of days because that asshole GRP was in Southern California and brought the crap with him. But a couple more of these big Saturdays, so got to cherish them while we have them. Probably 4 or 5 more.
Yep.
Prize pools are going up, so definitely would be a good slate to get right today.
Yeah, it is a good slate. It's an interesting slate overall. Pricing is tight in certain spots, but I think it's a good one. All right, I just fixed the screen here. I'm going to be sharing our projections here for each game as we go through. We got 10 games in a couple different windows. Gav, let's just dive right in since we started a tad late. First game on the slate: Arkansas at Texas A&M. A&M laying 7.5-ish here. 139.5 total is what I've got at DK. I don't have any news in this game. I'm not sure if you've seen anything pop up. What do you got for us here?
Yeah, I mean, Texas A&M should have won 7 straight, if not for the 22 points second half meltdown against Texas when we bet them. But we know what we're getting with Texas A&M, right? They're going to slam the glass and they're going to play kind of a compact shell defense and let you shoot over the top. The news with Arkansas is, the last 4 games since they inserted Big Z into the starting lineup, they're 4-0 straight up, 4-0 against the spread, and they're shooting 42% from 3 in those games. And they're going to get a ton of opportunities against Texas A&M. I tend to fade or play against A&M, when they're on the road, when their rebounding attack isn't as fueled by a home crowd. Opponents are shooting 36% from 3 at home when Texas A&M is on the road versus Texas A&M's 31.5% season-long mark. So, yeah, I think it's up to like 8.5. So it's really going to come down to, does Arkansas hit the shots? They've been kind of running pretty hot in terms of low shot volume, but just been mega efficient from 3. And we have 2 teams that are just going to run a ton of ISO sets. They're top 75 on the offensive side. They both forced it at a top 50 rate on the defensive side. So going to be kind of ugly. Maybe an under here. I wouldn't mind, but nothing really for me on side.
Yeah, Arkansas is definitely going to lose the math here to A&M and on the glass. I don't know. Like, I kind of like buying into mid-season big changes like this. Like, them inserting Ivisic and like having him play 30 minutes is such a big difference for this team. Like, we've known for a while that he's their most efficient player. I think it definitely changes the ceiling of this team, is I guess the best way to put it. DFS wise, I think we have a couple plays, including Ivisic himself. We have him for 29 minutes here. I think, he could probably play low 30s if things break his way. He's just got huge block upside. He's been stroking the 3, awesome stretch big. So any interest in him? And then anything else here? Wade Taylor's under 7K for the first time. I don't know, in maybe 3 seasons. Him and Phelps both project well. Nothing, completely jumping off the page here, but I think those 3 are good plays. And then Billy Richmond's role has been expanding too, Gav. He's been over 20 minutes in back-to-back games. I think my favorite play in this game is actually Billy Richmond. He's looked great. There's no reason for them to reduce his role at this point. I think it could actually only expand, honestly.
Yeah, Arkansas, we talked about Arizona like maybe 3-4 weeks ago, how they really started paring down the rotation. It was too deep, everywhere. Arkansas is kind of doing the same thing now. They've really limited the rotation other than, the 5 spot where you have 3 awesome options in Brazil, Adu, and Big Z. Yep. So we kind of know what we're getting. Is Richmond locked in for 20 minutes? I think there's a realistic outcome where, he's not kind of the pure 3-point shooter, struggles on the inside against the A&M front court, and, maybe doesn't quite even get to 20 minutes. I think the minutes are a little bit more squishy than just kind of plugging him in for 20. I think he's certainly fine. For lineups, you can definitely play him. I don't think this game will get particularly up and down. But yeah, he's under 4K. So, going to give you plenty of options. Yeah, I mean, Big Z is going to be an awesome contrarian play. for a spend up GPP. I mean, he could take 7-8 threes himself in this spot.
Like 4 or 5 block upside.
Yeah. The thing he hasn't run into in these last couple games that he really has seen in the past is fouls. The foul opportunity is definitely there, but the 5 stock opportunity is as well. So high risk, contrarian GPP play. You mentioned Wade Taylor. Wade Taylor under 7K in his role last year would be an auto click, right? Wade Taylor at 7K in his role this year, because Buzz just has to give Zurich Phelps, shots and usage. Not as much of an auto click, but he's totally going to be fine. He's probably a cash lock, I'd imagine. Ran into some fouls the last couple games, but I think those are really the main parts. Like Carter Knox might be cash-ish. He's going to play low to mid 30s minutes, but he's not a very high shot volume guy, a little bit reliant on rebounds. So probably more of a cash play himself.
Yeah. Any matchup specific stuff in this game, or should we move on?
No, just Arkansas is going to get all the opportunities they want from 3. Guys that are rebounding reliant are going to have a really tough time, and guys that can't step away from the basket are going to have a tough time against A&M on the road. Yep.
All right, let's keep it moving. Let's go to Clemson at Florida State. Clemson down to -4. Gav, I'm actually surprised that it's gone this way. 142.5 total. We took Clemson yesterday. I love the Clemson -4. I don't see any news here. I don't see any injuries that we have to worry about. Florida State back to full strength. Last game, we saw everyone come back. So what do you have for us here?
Yeah, it's like this is the first time Clemson has left, the state of South Carolina in, I don't know, like 3 weeks, I think. They're off the Duke and UNC wins after they had the 3 OT loss to Georgia Tech. Florida State is off an ass pull win themselves against Wake, where Wake was up like 16 points with 6 minutes left at home, and against a team that can't shoot in Wake. So, there's a couple things that Wake needs to do. Spot wise, I would say this is probably a little bit better of a Florida State spot, but Florida State needs to turn you over to get out into transition. Clemson doesn't turn the ball over, and they're a bottom 10 defense in terms of limiting transition in the country. So you're going to force them to play in the half court. FSU is not a good shooting team, and Clemson's going to underscreen everything. It's going to kind of bait Jameer Watkins into more of those crappy off the dribble threes. So if he makes them, great. If not, then, it's going to be ugly for them. But, the Clemson team is pretty old too. So I tend to trust them in some of these kind of sketchier spots. So yeah, I'm with you on the Clemson there. It's 5 on Ken Palm. So I'll take the, 1 point discount to that. But yeah, other than that, a little bit more sketchy on the DFS side, especially when you have a Florida State team that now, with Leonard Hamilton stepping down, rotation could even get more messed up than it usually was under him. So, yeah, a little bit of variance baked in, probably more GPP options in this game.
Yeah, I worry less about the spot at a place like Florida State. Like, they're not packing that arena anymore. Their season's done. So.
Yeah, noon local tip in Tallahassee. So,
yeah, that place is going to be 40% full. So, not really concerned about that. DFS-wise, we do have some plays, especially up top, Gav, in the front court. Malik Ewan playing big minutes is going to project really well. His rates are great. Issue's going to be fouls. They're going to need him on the court in this game against Locken and Shefflin. I think he's a great play. Do you think he's I'm not sure we've used him on a main team this season, but the price is down after it spiked into the mid 9s. I think he's a good play. Our projection is, I think he's our highest fantasy point per dollar projection on the entire slate. I balk a little bit at the 32 minutes, but again, we just saw him play 37. I think that was helped a bit by others fouling. But if he's going to play 32 plus minutes, he's going to be the highest scoring guy on some slates.
I just saw the top 3 names point per dollar on the projections, and I almost wanted to puke. That's just disgusting. But yeah, I mean, his rates are insane. If he doesn't foul, which is possible, especially in this spot with a couple guys that are going to impose themselves in the front court. Clemson's going to post up a lot. Locken's going to stretch him to the 3 in spots. So, God, 8-2 for Malik Ewan. Yeah, sure. I mean, he's fine. He's mainline viable. I typically would see him as a GPP guy because it was a little bit more feast and famine. But yeah, if he's just going to put up an auto 10 boards or 9+ boards like he has the last 3 games and pour in 14+, then yeah, he's gonna have to be in consideration. Unfortunately, even if it's not a good game environment. I also bet this game under. I think the under is a little less reliant on Clemson making as many shots. Like they shot 46% against Florida State, beat them by 20 at Little John earlier in the year.
Yes.
So I think this could be kind of an ugly offensive game. So I wouldn't say a must, but yeah, in play, mainline viable, and still has plenty of GPP upside at that price.
Yeah, I worry less with guys like him and Shefflin in the greasier game environment, just because they don't need to score 25 real points to get you there. They can have a dozen rebounds and a couple blocks and score 12 points and still be optimal. I think Ewan versus Shefflin is interesting. I trust Shefflin a bit more, especially for like single entry type stuff. Do you have any lean between the two, or are we done with this one here?
I think I actually trust Ewan a little bit more in that one. Like Locken's shot share is pretty low. I guess Ewan's isn't the craziest, but Ewan's putting up a little bit better peripherals. He doesn't really have like a 1B big man next to him like Shefflin does with Locken.
Yeah.
Shefflin's putting up a couple assists now per game. I guess the rebounds are finally coming back. His rebounding percentage had plummeted kind of year over year on both sides of the ball. So, AK, yeah, he's fine. I think Shefflin is kind of more the GPP option actually in that. So yeah, probably slightly into Ewan if you have the 200. If you need the 200, I don't mind Shefflin though.
Yeah, and then my last note here was if everyone's going to be on Ewan, Watkins is right there at the same price too. He's been a frustrating guy this season. Everyone knows that. He's fouled a lot more than usual, especially in conference play. But him just sitting at that same price, especially if Ewan's going to end up being the chalky one, I think Watkins is an interesting pivot there. Any last words on this game?
Not really. I mean, Watkins shooting 37% from 3 versus 29%, or 37% at home versus 29% on the road against the Clemson underscreen. I think definitely interesting GPP mix in. Outside of that, what about like 4.2K Dylan Hunter starting last couple games? Like puts up some decent peripheral stats relatively consistently in addition to being a decent shooter. You'd obviously like the shot rates to be a little more, but he's 4.2K. I think he's in the mix for GPP stuff too.
Yeah, I like him more than the projection does. I think we've been pretty consistently lower than market on Dylan Hunter's projection this season. And I think he's a better play than that. Like you said, again, if he goes back in the lineup, I think there's upside beyond the 24 minutes too, which would make him look better as well. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's go to DePaul at Xavier. Xavier laying 12.5 here, 144.5 total. Pretty right in the middle on the slate, I think there. DePaul's been just ravaged by injuries this season. They've got most everyone back. Connor Enright out for the year has opened up some opportunity for us, though, Gav, in DFS. We've seen other guards come to the forefront for DePaul. Tough spot for them overall, but there's definitely going to be DFS plays here. But for the game in general, what do you got?
Yeah, Xavier beat them by 14 at DePaul when DePaul scored 23 first half points at home when they were fully healthy. So now they're 2-12 in Big East play. They beat Seton Hall at home, the corpse of Seton Hall, and one at Georgetown. And yeah, at least they got Skogman back last game, which will help a little bit. This is the game that Fremantle went for 20 and 10 in the first matchup. He played 32 minutes off the bench. It was his third game back from injury. So yeah, pretty nut spot for him. David Thomas has a 28% usage rate last 2 games. Just absolutely chucking.
I told you David Thomas looked good.
I would say priority budget play, if not outright stone lock. Like I think it's that level of territory. With Enright out, they're going to need some additional punch in backcourt. Xavier runs a little bit smaller lineup. It's a guard heavy, at least 3, if not 4 guards on the floor at once. So I think he has ability to stick on the floor. Xavier's a top 10 transition rate offense, and DePaul is a bottom 5 transition defense on a point per possession basis. Muskie's at home, sets up really well. That's why it's a 1.5 beyond the projected KenPom line of 11.
Yeah, I mean, I could see them running away and hiding this game too. I'm sure you can see that as well. DFS wise, yeah, it's Rivera and Thomas. We played. Well, both were squarely in play last game, but we weren't exactly sure if the David Thomas role was real. I'm buying that it's real now. He's played well, and their season's done. So I think they want to look at him. Rivera's just playing so many minutes. 2 games ago, he had the minutes, but ran pretty cold, and then had a good game last time out. So I think both of those guys are awesome plays. And then, like you said, Fremantle, great play up top. I worry a bit about the blowout, like using him on a main team. But, if DePaul's able to keep this within a dozen or so, he's got huge upside like he had in the first game. We got
Bro, choke that rooster.
There's roosters outside. I got the door open. How funny is that? Anything else besides those 3 guys here? I don't really trust the other DePaul guys. Like Gunn was fine when everyone was out, but now he's priced up like the guys are still out. And then the other Xavier guys, I haven't really played much of the non-Fremantle players since everyone came back. Conwell continues to get it done, though, right around that 7K price range. I think he's interesting for like a game stack, especially since the DePaul guys are going to look good.
Yeah, I mean, you ain't gotta convince me on Conwell. I'm a Conwell truther. I prefer him when he's sub 7K, but I mean, Xavier has upside to score 85, 90 points in this spot, of which a good amount are going to come, likely from Conwell in the shot volume department. Dante Maddox hasn't missed a shot in 3 years, it feels like. I guess people are going to go back to him, if he scored 24 plus real points in the last 2 games. I think he's a guy that, look, he's going to kind of slate to play 20 to 22-ish minutes. And if he's hitting shots, there's no reason for Sean Miller to take him out. So he's going to, then play the 30 to 31 minute role. If he's not, 4-6 and 6-9 from 3, and he's less efficient, and he probably only plays 22. So at 6K, that's probably an easy fade for me. McKnight's rates have just fallen off a cliff.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I can get to him. So, it's probably, Thomas way down low, then it's Rivera in the mid range. And then a Conwell Fremantle, is probably mainly where I'm looking for this game.
Well, Gav, let me stop you for 1 second. Captain just sent me some news that Rothstein just posted. D'Amico is going to play. NJ Benson is out. So we'll have to redo projections. Skogman at 3-3 without Benson. Probably going to be a pretty good look there. So for those who are subs, you'll have our updated minutes and projections. If you're not a sub, our Discord is an awesome place for college hoops. We got some great people in there. We've had a really successful season. Join us with code RPS15. If you want just college hoops, we do have a college hoops only subscription. And if you have any questions, just shoot me a DM on Twitter. But yeah, I mean, 3-3 Skogman, 3-6 Thomas. This might have just become a stars and scrubs slate, Gav. Any just quick reactions on that news? I know that you know the rules a bit better than I do on that team.
I really wonder what Skogman's ceiling is. I wonder if Holtman feels that he can even play him over 20 minutes, just freshly off the injury that he missed over 2 weeks for.
Yeah,
he's still 3-3. So even at 20 minutes, he still has a really good chance to get there. Xavier's not the greatest team on the glass, so he's got a path there. Fremantle's not going to want to travel out to the perimeter, so Skogman is a pretty good stretch 5. Even as awful as his jump shot looks, it somehow goes in. So yeah, he's going to be a fine play.
I think they could also start Trainer too, honestly.
Trainer sucks. He sucks. He could barely even play unless Benson fouled, and then he got the 20 minutes when Benson fouled 2 games ago. So I'm out on him.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how the projections shake out. All right, let's go to Vandy at Tennessee. Tennessee laying 13, 140.5 tote here. Vandy games tend to get up and down. I don't see any news here. I think the only thing was that, interestingly, DK pulled this Tennessee number when I was doing my notes. I'm not sure if it's back up. I assume it's back up. There's rumors that Milicic might be banged up, but we're let's go into this with everything clean until we see something official. What do you got on this game?
Yeah, projected 14-point spread on KenPom is pretty big. I think it's inside that. I think some Vandy money has come in, but this is the rematch of the Vandy court storm.
Yeah.
In Nashville, in a game that Tennessee shot 48% from three on 21 attempts and lost. Like that's insane for Tennessee. But they're off the Kentucky loss themselves. They're now bottom 10 in consistency on Haslam, which kind of makes sense when you think about it. Just like they lose to Kentucky without Lamont Butler, and they beat Florida by a billion, who just ran Auburn out of the jungle. So it's kind of an up and down team, but Vandy 1-4 straight up and ATS away from home. Their only cover/win was against LSU. That was back on January 4th. They did fight Auburn hard last game, but ended up not covering. It's a team that's top 20 in transition rate, and Tennessee is one of the 10 lowest defenses allowing transition. So yeah, really good spot. Tennessee with revenge, with size advantages, physicality against a pretty soft Vandy team. But double digits is tough to lay when they shoot 48% from three in the first game on 21 attempts and lose.
Yeah, I kind of think this total is a bit high. I think Tennessee could just kind of snuff them out in this spot and allow 52 points or something. I think over 140. I think my interest here would be in the under there. Any thoughts on that? And then for DFS, we got these. We had our window when the Tennessee guys were cheap. That window's gone. Ziegler's at 9.2 now. Milicic off the big games at 7.4. I guess he's still in a playable range there. Any favorite plays for DFS? I've been basically pretending that Vandy doesn't exist on slates the entire season because of their deep rotation.
Yeah, it's a disaster. Nobody plays full minutes. Everyone plays. It's kind of like almost Michigan State. It's like everyone plays 20 to 28 minutes. Total wise, 138 on KenPom. So yeah, I guess kind of slightly into the under. You're going to need Tennessee to not shoot as well as they have kind of in a couple of these recent games where they were 11 to 15 from three 2 games ago. So yeah, I don't mind that. But DFS wise, it's kind of a tough game to get to. Milicic at 7.4 could have been an interesting GPP guy. Maybe he still is if he starts. But a calf is never an injury you want to kind of play into, at least for me personally. Gainey's playing a lot more now. He's over 5K again, and yeah, he's gonna be a little bit scoring reliant, but I could definitely see Gainey getting there, scoring 15 real with a couple peripherals. Other than that, I don't think I'm really too interested in this game personally.
Same. I think Gainey's good. They do have a mini max today. I think he's a good play for something like that. But I don't have any interest for a main lineup here. Let's keep it moving. Let's go to Wisconsin at Purdue. Purdue laying 5.5 here. 150.5 total is tied for the highest on the slate. I know that you got in early on this total. Why don't you tell us about this game here? This should be a good one.
Yeah, Purdue's, off the loss at Michigan. They led by double digits at the last media timeout of the first half and lost outright. Painter's actually 1-5 versus Greg Gard ATS the last 6, and Wisconsin's got a full week of rest. That being said, they have 2 top 40 wins this year. One is Arizona back when Arizona sucked in mid-November. That win is aging well, but the other is Nebraska at home. Nebraska is on number 40 at KenPom. So those are their 2 top 40 wins all year. Point remains, they're still, 11th on KenPom. They've been taking care of business. Both these teams are, 2 of the hotter ones in the country. Some of the worries that I have, with Purdue is, being top 10 and forcing turnovers the last month. That's pretty tough against Wisconsin, who's, relatively sure-handed, and their wing attack is going to have big advantages on the offensive side. They're happy to shoot over the Wisconsin wall up. They're at home against Mackey. So, both teams' kind of offensive mindset goes right into the weakness of the other. It's projected at 66 possessions, which I kind of think that's more of a floor than a median. I think this thing could kind of get into the high 60s, maybe even 70 possession-wise, and it still could get there on an efficiency over if it only reaches 66. So I think pretty decent spot here pace-wise, 150. It's one of the higher totals on the slate.
Yeah, I think it might be the highest total now. I know you got in early at the 147.5. Pretty jealous about that. I can only bet on Hard Rock here, and they didn't post numbers until like 8 a.m. here for the games today. So definitely missed out on that. DFS wise, I think we're going to have enough value to play some Braden Smith if you want to get there. He's just been so rock solid, so consistent. Coming off a bit of a down game for him, but there's 40 plus in him, especially in these close games. Like we have him for 37 minutes. I'd be surprised if he didn't play all 40 in this game if it stays close, which it should. So I think there's upside in this projection. If you put him at 40 minutes, he's probably median projection of what, like 48, and he's going to be in every optimal. So I'm going to try to get to Braden on this slate. I think we're going to be able to, especially with that DePaul news. So thoughts on him in this spot? I know he burned you earlier this week. And then anyone else in this game, we have a good projection on CJ Cox, who's played well. I do tend to like playing ancillary guys like him more when they're at home, which they are here. The projection scares me a little bit, but he has been good. Like, he's forced his way in to starting five, and they've played well when he's on the court. So,
yeah, I mean, Braden's he's the best point guard in the country. I think pretty plain and simple at this point. He's the most lethal drop coverage ball handler in the country. He's going to see a ton of it against Wisconsin. It might be a little bit tougher for him on the assist side just because these drop coverage defenses, really limit catch and shoot by sticking out on shooters and just kind of funneling everything into the mid range. But like Braden, I mean, he could score 30 real in this spot for sure. So yeah, he's fine now that we're going to have plenty of value. Clearly, I think this is a terrible matchup for TKR. This is not the matchup you just dump it into TKR and let him throw up 20 contested, post mid-range shots.
that's how they lose this game if they do
that. John Blackwell at sub 7K, I think is a really interesting GPP option. He's going to be getting that, CJ Cox matchup on the defensive end, and CJ Cox is not that great of a defender nor able to guard John Blackwell. So yeah, he's definitely in the mix for lineups. I don't even think that Caleb Furst is terrible because they're going to need him against the Wisconsin double big, for a fair bit. I probably prefer him over CJ Cox, to be honest. I don't just maybe CJ Cox goes 5 of 7 for 3 or something like that. And I'm just wrong, but God, if people are going to play him, that's just not a guy that I'm really trying to play into ownership. 25 minutes, 20-ish projection. I think there's ways around that in addition to there being paths to him not getting there.
Yeah, I think he fails a good amount in this spot, and he's going to be one of the higher owned guys on the slate. I do like the first pivot, especially in this matchup here. Any last words on this one? I mean,
Carter Gilmore may play a couple less minutes than him with upside for 7 to 8 rebounds. He just had 15 and 7 against Northwestern. I don't even know if he's a worse or a better play, or he might even be a slightly better play, no ownership compared to a Cox in the same game. I think not a ton more to add just on that front. What about Crowell? Into Crowell at all?
At 6'6", I was into Crowell when he was 5'6", 5'8".
Yeah, you got a 1K price increase.
But the good news is that he seemingly has that high 20s 30-minute rollback. That kind of got away from him for a bit. So seeing the minutes there is good. I mean, we have a good projection on him. There aren't that many guys on this slate that are over 4X, and he is one of them. So I think Crowell's definitely interesting. If you land in that range, I wouldn't mind either Blackwell or Crowell, especially as a last man in this, high total game. So I think that's a good call there.
Yeah, I would try to get Blackwell. I mean, Blackwell could legit score 25 real points in this spot. I just think he has a way different ceiling than Crowell. So I would try to get there if possible.
Yep, agreed. All right, let's stick in the Big Ten. Let's go Washington at Penn State. This game's also at a 150.5 total. Penn State laying 5-ish here, Gav. Washington has not played well coming east this season. I think this is my favorite game on the slate for points. We've seen both these teams really give it up, but I wanted to hear your breakdown on the schematics of this one.
I mean, like, what is there to? It's the two worst teams in the Big Ten. It's basically a game of like who's less dead.
I mean, for
Washington just got
DFS wise.
yeah. I mean, Washington just got slammed by 24 at Ohio State, while Penn State was busy losing by 24 and 25 at UCLA and USC. They've lost 10 of their last 11. They get Yannick Conan-Niederhauser back last game. I don't know. Here, speaking of DFS, I got an Ace Baldwin stat for you.
Yep.
In the first 18 games that he played this year, he had a sub 25% usage rate exactly 2 times. Okay. He has 4 straight under 25%, 5 of his last 6 under 25%. And the only time that he did get 25 or more in that 5 to 6 stretch was exactly 25. I don't know if it's being checked out. I don't know if it's being still gimpy, hurt from kind of, a month ago and just not being fully healthy. I don't know what it is, but
he's definitely deferring more to like Dunn and DeLeon and Kern for sure.
I don't know what it is with that, but that's just kind of the Ace Baldwin situation and why the price is down. Penn State's going to have success, with their press turning over the second worst turnover percentage offensively in the Big Ten. So that's, there is some steal upside, especially with Washington's, backcourt. Just nobody standing out there. Penn State's clearly better. Yeah, I just can't bet it. I can't bet a game at mid-February with 2 teams that are in the state that Washington and Penn State are at. But DFS wise, there actually might be some spots though.
Yeah, I agree on that. This Washington backcourt has been giving us fits all season. Can you remember a bigger whack-a-mole situation than this for a power conference team?
Yeah, it's like Eric Musselman in November, December. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so like we have a good projection on Zoom Diallo here. I think he might be actually our highest point per dollar on the slate now. But it doesn't give you the warm and fuzzies, does it? It
won't be for me.
Yeah, I mean, you could easily see Iheanacho or Davis play those minutes and Diallo play like 18. So I'll be probably actively trying to get away from the Washington guards, especially if they're going to be popular. I mean, it is a cheap tag for him, and I get the projection. But I think, Gav, at this point, I'm just kind of throwing my hands up with the Washington guard situation. Osibor under 9K. How's the matchup for him here? I think I'm probably making him a priority on this slate.
Yeah, it's a pretty good matchup. It's on the road. If Conan-Niederhauser wasn't back, I'd say it'd be even better. It's a little bit more difficult. He's a pretty mobile big, but God, he can foul his ass off in spots.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, Osibor's fine, sub 9K for sure. He had a crap game last game where he had a little bit of foul trouble and the blowout, so he just didn't really do much. Yeah, the Washington guards just I'm done. I'm so done. We try to make the Makai Mason thing work. He's super owned and he plays 21 minutes without fouls. Like it. Danny Sprinkle just
he fouled twice in the first couple minutes.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Okay, so all right, well that's still. I mean, so maybe it was a little bit induced to fouls. I can guarantee you that when we start the slate today, I will have 0 Zoom Diallo. That's all I know.
Is either Osibor or Ace priority for you here? It's an awesome total. Both of them are, sitting about 1K lower than we've seen them all season. I think I might play both. I'm worried about the Ace usage. I'm not worried about the Osibor usage though.
No, would I say any are priorities? No, they're definitely like mainline viable. Both of them, you can play both together in the same game. I just have concerns with both of these in the given spot. The one that the Ace price just looks a little bit too cheap. Where I think Osibor has more routes to failure. So Ace is probably a little bit safer, but he just might lack like the 45, 50 point ceiling that we were seeing earlier in the season. When he was getting a lot more usage.
Yeah, I just think it's a different role now. As tough as that is to kind of realize. Any cheap guys on this slate or in this game? DeLeon's down below. We saw him at 5.5 2 or 3 weeks ago. He's still playing that 20-ish minutes. I think he's okay at 3.7. especially if you're playing the lotto. Anything else in this game, or should we move on?
I'm surprised you brought up Dillion. I think he's a really interesting GPP option. I think the minute range of outcomes looks really similar to like a David Thomas. And the usage probably isn't that far off, and we've seen it from Dillion versus, Thomas only being a couple games. So I think he's a really interesting leverage GPP mix, and that's still probably going to go relatively low owned in the spot.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 3-7 guard playing 20 to 25 minutes and the highest total on the slate at home. So
as the off-ball guy in a press.
Yeah, I like it. All right, let's go to West Virginia at Baylor. Second lowest total on the slate here, 135.5. Baylor laying 8.5. I don't have any news here, Gav. I'm not sure if you've seen anything. Baylor pretty much back to full strength. They got Love back, Edgecombe's back, and Roach is also back. So I would lean Baylor here, but that's a lot of points and such a low total. What do you think?
Yeah, two slowest teams in the Big 12 is how you get that total. Baylor's off the physical Houston loss. You mentioned being healthy. They don't have Joshua Johnua anymore, which I think is probably better for them in the long run, honestly. Like putting Norchad Omier, the active leading rebounder in college basketball, and using him as a stretch four was just like one of the stupidest things I've ever seen Scott Drew do for an extended period of time. It was mind-boggling. Now you can run like legit 5-out stuff where you can get open lanes in the key for Rob Wright, for VJ Edgecombe to play downhill. They're going to be playing against the West Virginia drop coverage, so both are going to have their opportunities to score in the mid-range. West Virginia's off the BYU loss. They've just been like really up and down. They've been pretty feisty as a dog. But yeah, just not a great game environment overall. I do think Baylor is definitely going forward a buy on team for me. I mean, Langston Love has come back and had like real juice. He has looked good, which is surprising considering how long he was out for, how many times he's had, the foot injuries reoccur, and he comes back looking like, 100%. And if he's going to play if they're going to use him and Edgecombe at the 4 with Omier at the 5, I mean, they're going to put some teams in some really bad spots with those guys off the bounce. So, I think Langston Love is a pretty good play in this spot at home, 4-9 against the drop coverage.
I'm playing Love over Zoom Diallo at that same price.
No question. Yeah.
I kind of thought they were going to shut him down the way things were going. So it's really encouraging to see him back. I mean, he just played 35 minutes last game.
Yeah, and has looked really good. Yeah. Omier 10K, Contrarian GPP option, off the Houston game. He went for 18 and 16 against Kansas. What do you think he can do against West Virginia at home? So, he's got legit like 50 plus point upside. West Virginia is not the most rim hunting team, so the block upside might not, really exist. But yeah, could easily like 18-12 again, which will put him kind of right around the 40. So yeah, I think he's in play.
I like Edgecombe a lot here too.
Yeah, Edgecombe's in play. I think that him and Rob Wright are going to benefit from no Josh O being in the middle of the key, clogging everything up. So if you want to play Edgecombe as a contrarian GPP option, I think 100% in play. Langston Love priority for me.
Anything on the West Virginia side? Hansberry's been playing the minutes. He hasn't popped a big one since like the injury and slowly coming back. But we did see him in the mid 7s for a reason early in the season. Yeah,
it's been hard for him to see a path to 30 minutes unless Andre fouls. I don't know what Darian DeVries is just shoving Eduardo Andre minutes for, but that's been Hansberry's issue. He's a great rates guy, but yeah, the minute kind of ceiling just caps his upside to an extent. But yeah, if you want to play Hansberry against his zone as a guy who can shoot threes, who can rebound well, and it's tough to put bodies on guys when you're defending in a zone, who's got some assist upside against the zone, Hansberry for sure has paths. I'd be fine mixing him in.
Yeah, I think he's interesting. Like if you wanted to bring back with someone, it would definitely be him for me.
Yeah, probably.
All right, let's keep it moving. We got 3 games left in about 15 minutes. Georgetown at Butler. We go to the Big East. Butler laying 3.5 here at home, 141.5 total. Gav. Don't have any news here. We saw Jaden Epps return It's another Saturday and another time that we have to talk about Jaden Epps. What do you think about this game here? I thought about a Butler side. I wanted to hear your thoughts, though.
Do you remember the first time these teams played?
Not specifically.
We had Georgetown -3.5.
Oh,
they're up by 5 with 4 seconds left, and Finley Beesjack drives the length of the floor and dunks it. The little rat fuck.
Yep, I remember now.
No, I'm not bitter about it at all. Georgetown was 2 of 17 from 3 in that game, and still should have covered. It was a 73-70 game. That's basically where Ken Palm has it here, 73-69. Butler's off 2 straight wins. They won at Seton Hall by 30 and beat Providence by 1 last Saturday. Yeah. Now Butler has a full week's rest. They've scored 80 plus in the last 2 games. It's a much better defense now, so it'll be a little bit tougher, but Butler's one of those defenses that just will never make you uncomfortable, due to a low turnover percentage. So, Georgetown will get the shots that they want. Question is, do they make them, or do they go 2 of 17 from 3? Yeah, I don't want to bet 2 teams below 500 in Big East play in mid-February. But yeah, unfortunately with the Jaden Epps situation, we might have to consider that for DFS.
So he played 20 minutes last game. We have him for 25 here, basically because every time he's worked back, they have increased his role. I mean, they don't want to be playing Caleb Williams 30 minutes a game. I get it. Epps has not had a good game since Christmas. But at 4-3, especially if he slides back into the starting lineup here, we're right back in this spot that we were a month ago.
Yep. And he comes back and he re-injures himself. I think he's re-injured himself 2 different times this year.
Twice. And it's both been on big Saturday main slates.
And apparently, last week was illness related. I guess it wasn't even injury. So, yeah.
Yeah, so that's going to be a big decision point. I can't sit here on the show and tell you what I'm going to do right now because I'm not sure. But he's going to make a lot work. And obviously we know that Jaden Epps is not a 4K player. He's probably a 6K player. Let's talk about the expensive guys here. I have Thomas Sorber in that same range as Braden, same range as Omir. Do you have any preference between those? He's played 38 and 40 minutes the last 2 games. Don't love that it's on the road, but like you said, it's not a matchup that's entirely going to scare you. And the Butler front court isn't great.
Yeah, when Sorber's really nuked is when he's doubled with a bunch of stocks. Butler isn't like a rim hunting team, and they don't turn it over a bunch. So it's kind of tough for him to get there on that side. But yeah, the matchup is pretty cake against this Butler interior. Like Andre Screen and the great Bowden Kapke. Yeah, he should be fine. He probably walks to 35 plus fantasy points, but I think he's a tier below an Omir who has basically a new role now in that offense without Josh O. So he's a little bit below Omir, a little bit below Braden for me. But yeah, if you wanted to play Sorber, he has 50 plus point upside, so fine with it.
Yeah, I'm Braden 1, and probably Omir 2, Sorber 3, in that range. I think Telfort is interesting here. Every time he dips below 8K, you just know exactly what you're getting with him. Probably more of a cash play, but he's just so rock solid when he's under 8K that I think he's at least interesting. Any thoughts there? And then anything else in this game for you?
Yeah, I think him and Pierre Brooks are kind of the same plays. Like Brooks under 7K, Telfort under 8K. Both guys are going to play max minutes. Both guys are going to have good usage. So yeah, if you wanted to play either one of those, I don't mind it. Once you start getting into the role players of the Butler side, it gets a little bit thinner. The Kapkes, the Landon Moores, the Kobe Kings, probably out on those guys. So yeah, on the Butler side, it's probably Telfort, Brooks. I don't.
Rooster's back. The Rooster's back. He's standing outside my room.
Look at that. Yeah, I don't think I'm getting the screen in the spot against Sorber. No. At 6.2. So other than that, the Epps news pending, and then a couple Butler side right. Butler guys.
I'm putting you on the spot. If Epps is starting, is he in your main lineup?
Much more likely not.
I think that's the right answer, because as we've gone through the show, there's been a lot of good plays under 5K that we're into. So I think last time, Gav, that he was on the slate, the one where he got hurt, I think like he was like the only guy, right? Where it was like, there weren't other good options, but I think that there are a bunch. Langston Love probably being my favorite under 5K that we've talked about so far. All right, let's go to maybe the best game of the day, at least.
Excuse me while I remove my pants for this one.
Maybe top two. Well, definitely top two. Maybe top one. Houston at Arizona, I believe. Is the winner going to win the Big 12 here, Gav?
They're going to have the front run spot.
Yeah. So Houston laying 1.5. We're hoping to get plus money. We took Houston here. Arizona, or it's at Arizona. The total's 137.5. If you subscribe to Jordan Majeski, he had a great breakdown of this and basically the exact reason why we bet Houston. But I'll let Gav have the floor with this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward with Arizona. They want to get out and run in transition, and they want to just assault the rim on the offensive end. And Houston, those are limiting transition and deploying their no middle offense and keeping guys out of the middle is like two of the foundational pillars of that defensive scheme. So it's a really tough matchup for Zona. Yeah, I tweeted like Kelvin Sampson, I think has been a -1 or favorite or less like 3 times in the last God knows how many years. So, and it's basically every time at Fog Allen. So if I'm going to get him at 1.5, I'll just take that. Houston is also getting healthier is the other thing too, right? Emmanuel Sharp coming back. Like Kelvin Sampson was really talking it up in the media about how their offense is just so much better off when you have someone like an Emmanuel Sharp out there, with Uzon coming along for sure. This is just all Houston for me. The spot bettors will love Arizona. That's why I thought we might have been able to get like a pick. But I'll settle for the 1.5.
Yeah, I mean, they did it. We got lucky to get the one through at Fog this year, but this is, I think, a much better spot for them. Transition denial, like you said, is the name of the game. That's the only way Arizona is going to score. So I'm with you on the Houston. Love that bet. One of the best of the day. For such a big slate of games, I don't love a ton of spots. So I think, Gav, we only have a handful of bets going.
I got way more.
I thought you said you were only going to live bet for now.
No, I said until Saturday.
Oh, until Saturday.
I just took it easy on Thursday, Friday.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about DFS here. I think, it shows right here on the page the reason that Epps and a couple guys that Zoom Diallo are probably not going to be in our lineups is because Manny Sharp is 4.6K. Why don't you talk about him and then anything else in this game? I'm off of all Arizona. Their front court has been great, but now they're priced up because of that, and it's the worst possible matchup for them. So even though they project decently, I think it's Manny Sharp and pass for me, but I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, he's probably in the pool of priority. I think he's a little bit less safe than a Langston Love because even though he's going to get the pace up from Arizona, they may not need to bring him along for 34, 32 plus minutes. He still could just kind of hover in that 28ish for the next week or two. I tend to think that when guys come back off injuries, that all else being equal, that those are more kind of floors coming back, and there's upside beyond that. So, 26 in the first one back. He basically only shot 3s, 1 assist, 1 steal. He's fine. He's going to be in the priority plays. I think he's below Langston Love for me, though. But definitely fine in this situation.
Yeah, we got a 26-minute projection here and 4.5x.
So at 26 minutes, if he's projecting that, he's a good play.
Yep. So any other interest in this game? I think everyone is just kind of priced out for the game environment besides him.
This is a terrible Toby Awaka matchup. It's not a bad Carter Bryant matchup, to be honest. And I tell you that the only thing I want to bet, the only thing I want to bet against Houston are teams at home and specifically the longer, taller 3-point shooters on home teams against Texas, and that's basically Carter Bryant.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't foul his ass off, yeah, he's got some pretty good upside in this spot. 30 plus. So I think he's a really interesting GPP mix in this spot. Outside of that, it gets a little bit tougher. I don't know if I can go nearly 7K VSAR at Houston, even though he's just been a complete machine. So probably only those couple guys for me.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Arizona sched, Gav, and I know the spot that we're going to be right back in on the Arizona Bigs, home against Utah next week.
Oof. Jesus.
Tough couple days for them. They host Houston and they go to Baylor on Monday. So tough stretch here for Arizona. Any last words here before we go to the final game?
No, I don't think Juwan Roberts is bad for GPPs either. Like with his shot shares, he's been fine. I mean, in this game, I think one of two things happens. Either Houston wins by double digits because Caleb Love shoots like shit Caleb Love, or Caleb Love shoots like Final Four Caleb Love and keeps Arizona in the game almost single-handedly. So I guess there's a route where Love just bombs away from three and is semi-efficient. If you want to get really weird, like in the $1, I think Love might be kind of interesting in a spot where not a lot of people are going to play him against Houston, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I think Juwan's a great call. We've seen in the games that go down to the wire for Houston, them jam him, 36 plus. We have 32 minutes here. I think there is some meat on the bone for minutes upside for him. If
his minutes they're just so consistent compared to Xavier Francis and JoJo Tugler just foul their asses off, but Juwan doesn't really foul as much, which has kept him on the floor and just rotate the other two guys for the most part. So
yep, love that. All right, let's go to the last game. The lowest total on the entire slate. I don't know why this is on the slate. It's a Island 230 lock. Yukon at Seton Hall. Yukon laying, is that 15? I see. 132 in a 132.5 total. It's a lot of points, but Seton Hall pretty unbettable at this point in the year. Reason being, we have no idea who's going to play. Like Jenkins is still hurt. Daiwusu, Middleton, Okorafor is now hurt. We just bit the bullet, Gavin, and projected all of them in, so we didn't have to worry about it. Even if these guys are in, I'm not sure I want anything there.
Yeah, otherwise you're going to get 100% and 100% of like Felton or something, if we project them out.
Yeah, against Yukon with like a 56 team total.
I think they literally scored 46 points last game.
Yeah, and I played like 3 of them. So let's make this one quick. I think the interesting spot here is what to do with Hassan Diarra, clearly playing through an injury, barely played last game. Do you have any thoughts on his role? Like, it's just so hard to project his minutes. We have him for 22 here. But, what did he play last game? Like 6 minutes or something?
Seven. I have no idea. Hurley supposedly said yesterday that he's feeling better. I think was what I saw. So, yeah, I think it's more of a GPP play to the Langston Love, Manny Sharp, Zoom Diallo chalk that we're likely to see. Because, the minute floor is like, probably 10 to 12 minutes and the ceiling is 28 to 30. And he was mid AKs, a little bit ago. So it's more of a risk tolerance question, I think. But the real question is, what do you do with Liam McNeely?
What a game he just came off.
This man has had a 34% usage rate in each of the last 2 games, 10 plus rebounds in both. Like, has come back just on a mission.
He's that same price tag as like Edgecombe and Osibor. Yeah.
So think about this. Yukon, other than McNeely, one guy on Yukon has had at least a 20% usage rate in either of the last 2 games they played. It was Solo Ball, and I believe it was exactly 20%. So that's what the McNeely coming back has done to the rest of the shot share, to the rest of the usage rate on that team, just completely just evaporated it. So it's do you think they stick with this, McNeely 30+% usage rate? Does it regress? I think that's really the question, determining what you do with him. UConn has actually shot 27 and 23% from 3 in the last 2 games, where they beat Creighton in Omaha and, we're leading the Johnnies comfortably early and kind of let it slip away, but we're in that game the whole time. So, shooting under 30% doing that, yeah, I get that's why this is a 5-point premium to the Ken Palm projection of -10. I mean, Seton Hall's the worst defense in the Big East. That's like all that Shaheen Holloway was known for. That's supposed to be their calling card. They've dropped 9 in a row. They're banged up. It's just a fucking disaster of a team.
Jasim Felton, Yassine Toomey, and David Tubeck. What do you think?
It's a disaster.
I was at that DePaul game, and I was like, who the fuck are these guys on the court? I mean, this is like a MEAC roster right now.
This is basically an in-conference bye game.
Yeah. So McNeely, like, this is one of those spots where people are going to see the price and be like, man, that's expensive. But if this role is real, he's 1,000 underpriced, still, like it's tough to gauge, when guys have hit their price ceiling. But man, he is really interesting. I think Caravan's interesting. This is the cheapest we've seen Caravan.
Dude, he has Chuck Knobloch throwing to first base level yips right now. It is insane.
Yeah, that's why he's 7K.
Yeah.
So I think McNeely and Caravan are both really good plays. I mean, if there's not a get right spot for Caravan, Gav, I mean, this is it, the way I think I'm going to look at Diarra in this one, Gav, is as a swap option. Like if I'm holding Sharp and I have a dud early, I think you just go straight from someone like Sharp to Diarra is I think how I'm going to play it. Because I mean, 2 games ago, he played 34 minutes. The big thing last time was, the big red light, I guess, is that he didn't start. So we'll see if he slides back into the starting 5. We'll see what they do with him. Any last thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, the 34% usage rate I quoted for McNeely would, if that was extrapolated to a season-long rate, that's basically like top 6 in the country. It would be number 1 for power conference. It's even more than like a Marcus Burton and Eric Dixon level usage, more than Braden Smith, more than Cam Jones. So yeah, he is 1K underpriced. If you believe that is the role that he has, it's tough to gauge whether that's going to be, what they stick to. They've had good success with it, so there is a chance that it happens, but that's basically the determinant in whether or not you're playing McNeely.
I think part of it is Hurley was so pissed with how they were playing when he was out. He's like, finally, I've got McNeely back. Let's just shove him usage. I think that could be part of it, honestly. All right, that is every game on the slate. Let's zoom out real quick. Do you have any overall slate thoughts for the people? Any other bets that we didn't talk about for the day? Anything in general?
It's going to be interesting because I think we have a fair bit of value, but we don't have the best selection of studs. We have Braden, we have Omer, but we're missing the Kalkbrenners, the Cam Joneses, the Brooms, of the world. So it's going to be interesting how some of the salary gets used, but I think there's some really interesting low owned guys, 7K plus that you can look at, kind of starting with, likely a Caravan, someone like that, someone like a Jawan Roberts or a Caleb Love. I think this is the range where you get unique. And I don't know if I got a ton more to add, but I think really getting that 7K range right for GPPs is going to be crucial.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's a lot of good plays above 7K, and a lot of like groupings of salary where you have to choose a guy in that range, right? We talked about that mid 8K that's got Ewan, it's got Edgecombe, it's got a bunch of different guys there. Jameer Watkins, McNeely, who we just talked about. So this is a cool slate. I like it more than when I woke up earlier today. I think my priority will be getting to Braden if I can. But you have to pay 10-8 for it. So we'll see. But yeah, that is all we had. Gav, did you have any other bets that you wanted to give out before we log off here?
I think my favorite bet of the day is San Diego State -1. I think
they only laying 1. I could not believe that when I opened.
It's fucking ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Yeah, Brian Dutcher has been a 1-point favorite or less 3 times in the 8 years he's been there. Both times were pre-Malachi Flynn in 2019. So, we're just getting a historical buy low. against a San Diego State team whose defense has underperformed to the tune of the 80th best rank over the last month. That will surely improve, especially at Viejas, against a Boise team that's running a double big that has not been good away from home. So that was definitely, I think, my favorite spot of the entire day. And I laid 6.5 with Carolina on the road at Syracuse. But yeah, Carolina will get out and run. They'll be able to get to the rim, and they won't be getting bludgeoned inside. So I think that's an all right spot. What else did I bet? Other than that, I got to look at other books, and we're already over time. So I'll ask in the Discord if you guys want.
All right, that's a good call. Yeah, that San Diego State bet was the first one I put in this morning when Hard Rock finally posted their lines. All right, we've said it all. We got a good 10-gamer today with a lot of good plays, a lot of interesting pivots, and awesome games all day. The way they kind of line up is perfect with the 2 p.m. Houston, 4 p.m. Bama, Auburn. It's going to be an awesome day of games. We will see you next Saturday, same time, same place. Thanks for hanging out. We have our highest viewership ever. So thanks to everyone for hanging out. The comments were going all show. So we'll see you next Saturday. Enjoy the games and good luck today.